Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the FB4. I'm Gav, I'm with Ian, and I'm with Grizz. There we all are. Liverpool are 3 from 3, 9 points from 9, top of the league. Nearest challengers are Chelsea and Watford, but we won't worry about them. Liverpool are flying. Grizz, 3 points yesterday, 3 points against Palace, 3 points against West Ham. In my opinion, we are not out of third gear. I'll be generous and say third gear. How are you feeling right now?
Calm, content,
full after eating,
full, sick after if you saw how much I ate.
Yeah,
but that's a different story. Good. We're feeling good, aren't we? We're feeling calm. We're feeling good. 3 wins out of 3. No goals conceded for me, which is the most pleasurable thing for me. Signs are all good at the moment. It's a good time to be a Red at the moment. And as you said, I don't think we're out of third gear yet, which is another positive as well.
Absolutely. Ian, I'll tell you what, I'll put it to you this way. That game yesterday was the happiest I've been after any of those 3 wins so far. Were you the same, or was there any other game that you thought, no, I really enjoyed that one? Mainly Palace probably on Monday night.
Mate, I'll tell you what, right? I was stood with my mate, who was like a West Ham fan, like, and I said, at no point during that game, even when we were under the cosh a little bit, when you don't put a team to bed, you inevitably have a few minutes, don't you, where you've got to dig in a bit. At no point did I think they were ever going to score, ever. And I turned around to him once, even if they did snatch an equaliser, it would be more like a one-off as opposed to the rule. Do you know what I mean? Where you think, oh, they've done it again, they've pulled it back again, or anything like this. There's just a change in my mindset at the minute where I just think we're a very, very good side now. I said just before we come online, I don't think Liverpool are even at 70%. It's getting there. You can see it. Like, there may be one wrong decision from getting through on goal 1 minute, or they're just a couple of inches off a pass of getting through on another minute, or it's coming together. But you know what I mean. But they're just getting enough done until it comes together, if you know what I mean. In the past, our front 3 needed to score 3 and 4 and 5 for us not to lose a game. Do you know what I mean? Or to not draw a game sometimes. They're not firing on all cylinders yet. As a unit, in the look good in parts. Salah's look good in parts. Firmino's well off the pace at the moment, but they can afford like struggle a little bit because our back 5, our back 6, whatever, just look unreal at the minute.
Yeah, I'm going to go from back to front. Let's move through the team because I don't think there was any. There might have been a standout performer for one of you, I don't know, but I'll go back to front. And when you start back to front, there's only one place to start, and that's Alisson. Grizz, Alisson yesterday has very little to do. Rushes out a goal down near the cop end, and your man doesn't know where the ball is, and it goes out for a goal kick. He then decides to chip it over the player when he's running through on goal. And when Van Dijk says, get rid of it, he says, no, here, you have it. Let's play football. He makes a big save at the end. I don't think it's as good a save as people make out. I think it's a good save. I think people were overreacting a little bit to it, but he makes it. He's slotted in seamlessly so far, hasn't he? And although half the main stand are probably fucking searching for defibrillators most of the way through the game when watching him, I think he's settled in brilliantly.
Gav, he has. And do you know what? He just oozes confidence. And everything he does, included those heart attack moments, just are a sign of his confidence increasing in every game. And I think it breeds confidence. And I know it was a bit sort of jittery. It gave a few jittery moments. But what I noticed, the crowd wasn't as sort of quick to jump on his back, or weren't as panicky as they were if, let's say, Miggs or Karius done that. I think even the crowd and even the ones that weren't sure about the price tag are slowly believing in him. And so obviously when you believe in someone and you slowly start trusting them more, and then you just kind of like what Klopp, sort of how Klopp dismissed it in the press afterwards, like, oh, he's Brazilian. He knew it was the best option. Do you know what I mean? So you kind of just buy into it. And I think people will slowly start, look, don't get me wrong. He will make a cock up. He will, because that's what he does. As I said, I've been watching him for like Roma for about last season quite closely. And he does that all the time. He won't change. If we're thinking that he's going to, from now on, right, he's learned his lesson and sort of Klopp's had to give him an ear bashing and sort of said, look, just lump it every time. You're not going to get that with his keeper. He's the closest sort of, in that sense, to sort of, do you remember Bruce Grobbler? You probably will. Yeah. Ian definitely will. I mean, he's the closest to Bruce Grobbler in terms of, you know, when the ball gets to him, we don't know what he's going to do with it. But he's an actual footballer in goal. So I think, and we've mentioned before, I think he make us more points than lose us more points, which is what a keeper's supposed to do. And with the saves, you're right. They are being a bit overhyped, but it's still. Do you know how many times have we been in control of a game and the first shot against us goes in? It's more a sign of a concentration, and the keeper knows his whereabouts. And I think his concentration is proved again and again in every game, really. When he's called upon, he's there, and that's what a keeper's supposed to do.
Yeah, absolutely, Ian. I just love how he settled in. I love his confidence. I love the way, no matter how many people get very, very nervous when he goes to do something, he seems so cool about it, and I'm loving how he's an outlet for this team. Even when he's on the edge of his box, other teams are kind of checking the space behind him, checking the space in front of them. They're checking where men are 70, 80 yards from where Alisson is. It's extremely impressive.
I think if Jurgen Klopp could design a goalkeeper, he'd come very, very close to designing Alisson. Just seems to fit. I don't know how many he'll make in terms of saves, but he might make them where he's caught in possession on the edge of his box, or like Manuel Neuer gets caught on the halfway line. I don't think he'll go that far. I think his mistakes will come from. But the reason why people are overhyping him is because he's brand new.
I'm losing him.
He's brand new. He's like a. My back.
Yeah, you're okay, go on.
Yeah, he's like
no.
The reason why
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
hyping him because he's brand new.
I'm losing you there a little bit. If you want to just drop out and come back in with me, just to grab that call back. Yeah. Just take 2 seconds, and I'm losing it. Grizz, I'll come back to you. And I'll get back to Alisson Marine now in a second. How many points do you think this guy is going to save us this season? Or how many points do you think he's going to get us? You know, or, like I always have visions. The vision I have of him right now is, all right, making saves. I have visions of him when we're 1-0 up, coming and claiming something and throwing it 50 yards and we're away and we seal a game. Is that something that you can envisage as the season goes on?
Yeah, Gab, do you know more than how many points? I mean, the way I look at it initially and the way most managers look at it is, how many games, I mean, it might be a negative way of looking at it, but how many games, how many points he won't cost us? Do you know what I mean by that? Like, how many unforced errors will he make during the season? And I think that will dramatically reduce. And then on top of that, once he's sort of cut out the unforced errors that our goalkeepers have been prone to in the last few seasons, then we can sort of enjoy his distribution more and how many setups, how many moves. I mean, he might not directly be the assister for the goal, but how many moves he sets up from the back, sort of totally calm when he's under pressure. He'll just drill a ball out to sort of, was it Robertson? I think he done against Palace. Well, just chipped it out. There was pressure. All the back four was all of the central defenders were sort of marked, and he just sort of nonchalantly chipped it. You're a golfer, you'll appreciate it. He sort of nonchalantly just sort of chipped it over to Robertson and started an attack. So we'll only appreciate that once, and most people will only appreciate that once he cuts out the unforced errors, which he, in my opinion, will over the season. You're looking at in my opinion, you're looking at 10-12 point shift, and that's a very good amount for a goalkeeper.
Yeah, I'm seeing I'm seeing someone there saying he'll probably get more assists than Pogba. We laugh, but he probably won't. But it's just, for me, everything about his game, he's looking solid in goal. He looks like he's controlling his area. He's handling that. He's handling the physical side. He's come out a couple of times and absolutely gone through a couple of players and to punch something away. But then he's claiming it, and he's always looking for that quick release. And the thing about it's not, look, you can quick release a ball and straight to a guy's foot, and he's surrounded by three players. For me, it's just he knows where to be putting the ball all the time. The little chip he does over the oncoming Brighton player yesterday, though, how many people had their hearts in their mouth, Chris? Out of 54 or 52,000 Liverpool fans there yesterday, how many do you reckon had their hearts in their mouth, or is majority of the ground coming around to the fact that this is what this guy does and he's good at it?
You'll always get that, the initial one, because that's the first time they've seen him do something unorthodox, let's just say. But I'm convinced that the crowd would usually, by the end of the season, the crowd will be convinced that that's orthodox for him. As Klopp says, that's the best option. He thought if he just kick blasts it, there's a very good chance it could ricochet off the centre back. The attacker, and go back, or sort of ricochet. So he thought the best option would be just to casually chip it over his head, and that's what he's about. I think we'll slowly get used to him. Yes, he will, make the odd error, but I think he's confident. And another thing that you talked about in terms of his confidence, I think a lot of praise has been given to VVD about Gomez. His confidence and sort of leadership skills in terms of giving Gomez confidence. I think Alisson had a very similar effect on Gomez as well, in terms of he just breathes confidence. He's got these two huge mountains besides him and behind him, and sort of they just make you feel comfortable, do you know what I mean? Like sort of two henchmen alongside him. So it goes well. I think the crowd by the end of the season will sort of be absolutely used to his sort of style of play.
Okay, Ian, me and Grizz have filled in that last 2 to 3 minutes for absolute bullshit.
Yeah.
I think Grizz will even agree. But come on, coming back to your original point on Alisson, what are you making of him so far?
Mate, I said before, if Jurgen Klopp could design a goalkeeper, it'd be very similar to what Alisson Becker is. He fits our style. Do you know what I mean? He's like a buccaneer of a keeper, and he's gonna do shit like that with a chipper over a player's head, or he's at some point he's going to do it. No.
Ian's reception is poor, isn't it?
Yeah, it just keeps jumping on you, Ian, all the time. It might settle down. Moving on. Robertson has a decent game. It's just one of Robertson's games. I don't think there's much you can touch on. He's up and down all the time. He's reliable is not actually giving him enough credit, I don't think, because reliable is someone that just stays there, tackles, and that's basically, he's up and down. He's a left winger. Vincent Hooley says Ian has to get sacked. I'll put it to the board, Ian, or Vincent, and see what comes about. I can't see it happening though. But Grizz, Van Dijk to me looked a little bit lax yesterday. No, I'm not having a go there. I just think he looked, in a couple of situations, he looked a bit lax. Gomez was very good. I thought he dealt with that guy you have up front that's about 40, and I can't remember his name. You'll tell me now in a minute, the former Palace striker. Murray, yeah, I thought he dealt with him, because I think Murray tried to come on to him all the time, as we see in most games. They try to move on to Gomez. I thought he was very good. The one I want to touch on, though, and you can touch on Van Dijk if you want, I suppose, but the one I'd really like to look at is Alexander-Arnold. He hits one pass that's outrageous in the game. You'll see in gifs of it all day. But I don't think he's a little bit off the pace. I think he's trying to, in my opinion, prove that was the right decision to come back early and be straight into the team early in the season. And he's looking a little bit... He's a bit rushed in what he's trying to do, in my opinion. Do you get that?
I totally get what you're saying. But again, I think Klopp's looking at it in terms of similar to sort of Alisson, in terms of you're talking about he's trying too hard, and some people have been saying that Alisson's doing too much. I think with Trent, because he's so good, Gav, not only sort of he's developing his defensive side as a fullback, but what he gives us in terms of attack, set pieces even. I mean, I've got in my fantasy league, I know you're not a big fan of this FPL, but he's been so unlucky not to score this season. Do you remember the free kick he had in the previous game where the Palace keeper makes a brilliant save? This game as well, he hits the crossbar. Is it this game, isn't it? Yeah, he hits the crossbar with his free kick. So what Trent gives you is what 80%, 75% of the rest of the league's fullbacks don't give you, which is an extra outlet. And he's actually a skillful, as we know, a very, very comfortable footballer. And that's what Klopp loves about him. His again, his confidence. He's feeling good about himself. He's not had the best of starts. I agree with you, but that's to be expected. He's been away. He's not had a full pre-season with them. He's come back a bit. He's come back early, but not sort of. He's about 2 weeks behind, isn't he? You can tell. He's about 2 game weeks behind. We know in about a couple of game weeks, Trent will be flying. Those deliveries, those crosses that he does will be pinpoint. So I think it's just a bit of patience. Just stick with him. He'll be fine in a couple of weeks.
All right. Ian has gone off to try to fix his internet. Everything was perfect on it until we came on here. I think he's gonna throw the modem against the walls, see if it bounces back and comes on.
Oh.
So it's me and you, Grizz. Just me.
It's the best way, Gav. It's the best way, Gav.
Yeah, there's loads of context. There's loads of physics.
Absolutely. No one to interrupt me.
Well, I might have that at some stage.
I'm going to sit back.
Okay. I'll tell you what, we just have a row for the next 25 minutes and then we get
I'll tell you what, you mentioned something and I disagreed with you. No, I agree with you. I beg your pardon. About the Virgil van Dijk, I actually tweeted it. I actually think, and I think I'll probably say it when Ian's back because, look, we all love being proved wrong and sort of when it's for the betterment of Liverpool. And Joe Gomez is an example of that. Because me and you both have been slightly in doubt about whether he can make it at Liverpool. Would you agree as a centre-back?
I think he had all the attributes.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he's big, he's strong, he's quick for a centre-half. I just thought, not mentally, because I think he's played in big games and he's played in positions like left full when he came into the team, where you have to be mentally strong to do that in a Liverpool side that, let's be honest, was under pressure because of the previous seasons and stuff like that. He done all right. I just thought positionally and just knowing that game a little bit. Now that was at right back, so maybe it's more of a natural thing from to look around him as centre half. I think he's been fantastic the first 3 games of the season. And listen, you know me, Grizz, if I give an opinion on a player and I turn out to be completely wrong, especially when I've given a negative one, I'm more than happy to turn around and go, yeah, I was wrong.
And that's the beauty of us on the Fatback 4, that we haven't got any agendas. We value the team above any personal sort of opinions. And, you know,
sorry, Grizz, Am Singh says Gomez has been fantastic. The next test is to see how he is about a top 6 against a top 6 side. I couldn't agree more. I think Gomez now we've Leicester. I think we've Spurs away and Chelsea away, fairly close to each other. I think after the international.
That's
break.
right. Yeah.
I think that's where you see Gomez, and I think if Gomez comes through them, he's staked a major claim to be in this side for a long, long time, and it puts Lovren under a hell of a lot of pressure. But again, it's a good thing to have because I think Lovren plays really, really well with Van Dijk, and that's where your depth comes from.
Absolutely, it's a win-win situation in terms of Gomez for me. I mean, if you analyze the type of strikers that he's sort of put in his pocket, right? We had the first one, which was Arnautovic, who's big, who's strong, but he's very skillful, he's very quick, and that's meat and drink, isn't it, for Trent, right? Mm-hmm. In terms of anyone trying to outrun him.
Mm-hmm. And it's the only one mistake he made this season when you let him run off the back of him.
That's right. And I was there and I saw that and we thought, that's where we thought his concentration is not his strongest point. Everything else, all the boxes are ticked. But his concentration, his positional play. But at the end of the day, we always forget, even though he seems to be around for quite a while, he's 21. So, that can be worked on. But the next two games for me have been very interesting. He's played teams that have had big physical fuck-off strikers up there who have targeted him. And even Klopp's alluded to that they solely targeted Gomez. Nobody wants to go up with a high ball for Virgil because it's like, see you later, there's no point. But your man Benteke and Glenn Murray both targeted Gomez and tried to bully and harass him. He's come out with flying colours, Gav. I've got to hold my hands up and say the lad has proved me totally wrong thus far. And I will say thus far, there's always a but in there. You're right. The next test will be against a team that will attack us. Don't get me wrong. They've had phases of attacks, the teams that we've played. But when we play the Chelseas and your Spurs, even your Leicesters away, who've been a very tricky ground for us, this will be another test of Gomez's ability. And if he comes through that, you're right. It's for me, there's no option but for him to stay in the team. And Lovren's got to fight his way back in the team, which a lot of people, that's what we want.
Well, Lovren doesn't walk back into the team if Gomez keeps playing like this. Lee LFC, who's commented through YouTube, says that Gomez has got bundles of pace compared to a lot of centre-backs in the world. Absolutely correct. And I think the pace, I think he's faster than Lovren. I would say he's faster than Lovren. I think Lovren's more.
He is.
I think Lovren's probably more of a front foot player. But I've seen Gomez over the last couple of games getting really tight.
Trying that.
Attackers, and trying to add that to his game. And look, if someone's trying to add that to the game and they get turned and we can see the goal, you'd say, oh, well, look, he's trying. The same way if a striker tries to do something slightly different or a winger tries to do something slightly different, you have to let them progress. And he's progressing quite well. What else have we got there? Be nice if we could have a 3 o'clock kickoff. And Dicko says, yeah, they're all over the place. I think our next two are early games, 12:30 away to Leicester, Is it 12:30 away to Leicester, and then I think the Spurs might be 12:30.
Both midday kickoffs, yeah.
Yeah, they're about 12:30. But for me, Gomez, we've seen him now. Arnautovic runs off the back of him. That could be a little bit of a communication thing with Van Dijk. He was
first game this season.
Yeah. And the first 20 minutes, I think it was. Steve O'Sideways says you two lads look beautiful tonight. Steve was obviously looking for me to collect something for him. That's why he's saying that, because that's how he rolls. But
with me, I think he just wants some spices from down London. You can't get them apparently.
Yeah. He's always up to something.
There's always a reason why he's being.
Yeah, there is. There's always a reason why we're off, because we don't like each other. So if you're being nice, we're being nice to each other. There's always a reason. But I thought he was exemplary against Palace, and yesterday again, as I said, physical, strong, quick, didn't put a foot wrong. I think when the next test, and not even, although I agree, Chelsea, Spurs are tests, I think it's when we're under the cosh a little bit and teams are trying to play around us and get in behind us, and that's where you want to see him picking up the right positions in the box to clear, lining himself up with Van Dijk, watching his fullback, watching anyone coming into the box today. I think when we're under that, I'd like to see him, although I wouldn't like to see Liverpool under pressure, but I'd love to see Gomez under 10-15 minutes of decent enough pressure to see what way he comes out. And I think you're comparing. I think you're laughing.
I tell you what you're comparing the situation to possibly is the Trent example of last year. Do you know when he was in the Champions League where he was targeted by Sane, when City really tried to sort of put the pressure on him, had loads of possession, and and sort of Roma done the same thing, and a few of the teams thought Trent is the weakness, and then Trent came through flying colours. All right, he made a couple of mistakes in the Roma game, but he's a kid.
Yeah,
and that happens. Gomez is going to go through that phase as well, where teams are going to target him, especially the big teams. And you're right, that is the next phase. But he reminds me a lot of. I don't want to go overboard with the praise because
Franco Baresi.
No, not Franco Baresi. That's
Costa Corte.
No. In terms of stature, his pace, and you're talking about his ability on the ball. Varane of Madrid, Gav.
Okay.
He's got a similar frame, right? And in terms of, even if he makes a slight mistake, his pace always gets him out of it. And that's a massive asset. Yeah. Lovren hasn't got that recovery pace. We know when Lovren goes in, he goes in 100%. And if he's lost the man, it's good night, right? Whereas Gomez has got that ability to sort of get back and get a last-ditch tackle. So, you know, it affords him a bit of space leeway that way. But look, so far the signs are good. I don't see a problem him up against quick, wily forwards because, as I said, he can match them with speed, and that's what you need against these players. My worry was, like you, against sort of big bully boys. You know, he has in the past been sort of caught under the ball. Do you remember his sort of mistimed jumps and etc. etc. But I think with Virgil, who you're right, I agree. I tweeted it. Virgil, that was one of his poorest games. He looked lackadaisical, looked a bit lethargic. We know that's his style.
It looked a bit too easy for him at times, and he nearly gets caught.
I think it was boredom. Yeah, I think it was boredom. Yeah. Whereas Gomez was on it. Gomez was very concentrated. Yeah. So so far so good.
Just the last point on Gomez, and it's from Maverick S, and he's commented through YouTube as well. There's a little bit of news around YouTube that I'm going to get to later, so make sure you're listening, because all of this show won't be on Periscope, but we'll get to that later. The last point he makes is that you have to remember Gomez played very well against I think he said the Germans pre-World Cup in a friendly, versatile, and I have a feeling he may have started the World Cup. I genuinely do. I think he would have started the World Cup for England.
I think so. I think right-sided centre back. Yeah.
I think you would have seen Walker as your right-sided wing back for England. Although the guy that played there, the fella off Spurs, so we always forget his name as well. Trippier, yeah, he was excellent in the World Cup. In fairness to him. Right, look, move on. That's the back four covered, and we're doing this. I suppose we're doing this like player by player because not player by player, but we're picking out a few because the game didn't have a standout for me. It was a team performance where we weren't quite at it. I was saying to Ian before we come on, do you ever see a team that gets loads of chances and misses them and you go, Jesus, they were missing a lot of chances there. We seem to be the pass before the pass for the chance, if you get me. It just seems to be that's where it was falling down. But moving into midfield, Grizz, we started again with Milner, Wijnaldum, Keita. I want to touch shortly on all three of them. If I was to give a man of the match, I would have to say that Wijnaldum is mine. I thought he was outstanding from start to finish. I really did.
I would agree with you. I think Ginny has been sort of revelation, a bit strong, because again we haven't had teams that sort of have had enough possession to hurt us, and again the sort of same points that we made about Gomez would apply to sort of Wijnaldum, because when he's got runners coming off him, let's see how he does in terms of going with the runners. His positional play for a number 6, a brand new role to him. Or I believe actually it's not a brand new role, because I believe he's played there quite a bit for the national team, which is where I initially saw him, and I thought, I've always I've always said I much prefer him in the number 6 as the deepest as opposed to attacking. I know a lot of people prefer him as a getting into the box, making runs, but I prefer him like this. He knits things just lovely, doesn't he, Gav? I think his percentage pass completion rate has been sort of around the 80% mark, if I'm not badly wrong, as I usually am. But in all 3 games, I think he's been above 80%. I read
pass
somewhere.
Completion. I think he misplaced 1 yesterday.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm talking about overall, all 3 games.
Yeah, he hasn't. He's both very well. Look, I watched the West Ham game in the ground, and I watched that one yesterday. I watched them closely, to see if there's any difference to him. Was he just that good, or were West Ham terrible? West Ham were terrible. But I thought he just was recycling of the ball, and not even that. He was able to just take it and move 10 yards with it. And he was taking the odd player out of play, and then he was trying to move.
Absolutely,
I thought he was outstanding.
Kev, I hate being one of those guys that says until you go to the game, when you're at the game, you see a different picture, But it's fact. I'm afraid it's actually fact. And Ginny's one of those players. Until you see him live, you maybe don't appreciate sort of his positional play, the ground he covers, and sort of because he just kind of covers ground, you don't notice it sideways. Yes, admittedly, it's mostly sideways, but that's what your number 6 is there, sort of sweeping up left to right, seeing where the danger is. The amount of times he covered Trent and Robbo on either side was brilliant, and we know he's got sort of amazing recovery. I'm sure he's one of the fittest players in the team as well in terms of running power and everything, and he's very strong on the ball. We were talking about we never felt uncomfortable And last season, even when teams sort of had phases of play against us, it was always sort of, we were always looking for our midfield to control the game. That was a lot of people said to us, our midfield. Do you remember how many times we talked about our midfield doesn't control the game? I think that Palace performance for me was the most sort of satisfying in terms of the way we just controlled the crowd, the atmosphere. And I believe it was done through midfield. And Gini was, along with Milner, who we will come on to, obviously, because we're talking about the midfielders. But I think Gini and Milner have surprised a lot, pleasantly surprised a lot. Yeah. Because, most
of us... Just to cut across you there, right? I just have a couple of points on Wijnaldum, right? One of them is saying that, and his name's just gone off the screen. It was a guy off YouTube again. But he was saying that Wijnaldum, he dribbled the ball, he volleyed, or, soloed the ball up the pitch at one stage. He took the easy option too many times. And Jack Wilson says he was at the game yesterday and he thought Gini was part of the problem. He makes a lot of passes, yes, but he moves the ball so slowly and it limits us usually going forward. Look, that's an opinion that's thrown around at anyone that plays deep for us. Because whether it's like Henderson, I think if you get Fabinho in there, which you will, you're going to have that issue as well. People are just totally... I don't know if they're obsessed with this 6 has to be... You see, I'll tell you what I think the problem is, right, Grizz? People of a certain age are used to watching Xabi Alonso play deep for Liverpool, turn and hit 50, 60-yard passes, right, all the time. We don't play like that anymore. We genuinely don't. We don't play a hell of a lot of 60 to 70-yard passes. If you look from our midfielders, that might be 30, 40 yards and they're slightly vertical, if not square, and we're trying to stretch the pitch as much as we can. I think people need to look at the player, who he is and what he's actually doing. I said this the other night on the Tuesday Club. What do you want in a 6? Because you have to remember, this is a guy that's playing deep now, and he probably has 2 centre-backs behind him, and everybody else is miles ahead of him. Everybody.
Gav, you've made a brilliant point about the Alonso era, and a lot of Liverpool fans sort of remembering the best midfield in the world tag we had and sort of the setup we had in midfield. But it's a total different setup. It's a total different way of playing under Klopp. Alonso was Alonso because of Mascherano. Alonso and Mascherano were a duet, was a double pivot.
They sat beside each other, which meant...
And they sat beside each other, which is what I'm coming to. Now, our number 6 in this current setup, tactically, has a total different role. And it's so obvious because Henderson, when plays there, plays the same. Fabinho, I watched every single preseason game he was involved in, and he was playing the same. Gini plays the same. Now, there's got to be a point where people accept and understand that that's what Klopp asks of them, to not take the riskier option, but to play the percentage ball and keep the ball moving. We play with 2 progressive midfielders alongside them. You could say 2 number 8s, I suppose you could say, sort of who are given license to go sort of further forward. And so, therefore, there's a lot of responsibility on our number 6. And yes, sometimes Gini can take the easy pass, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. The old Liverpool teams used to be praised for sort of keeping the ball, killing the game like we done at Palace, like we done to a certain extent against, who did we play the other day, Gav? Palace. Yeah. Yesterday. Brighton, yeah. At times we've done that game, and that's the best way to... Look, we praise when Busquets does it. Do you know what I mean? Or Pirlo used to do it. So just these 10-yard passes, getting it back and forth, and just tiring the opposition, because we do that a lot. And this is what you call game management. And I think people have to realise that that is what your coach, who's Jurgen Klopp, wants off his number 6. I mean, Henderson's accused of it. Even some people were accusing Fabinho of it in pre-season. Do you remember? We thought, where the fuck's this noise coming from? Let him sit down.
I'm going to get on to Fabinho in a minute.
But look, our number 6, his main task, in my opinion, is to just sit there, cover the spaces, and give it to the progressive players, i.e. Milner, Keita, and your front 3. And that's their job.
Well, Chris Gleeson says, new to this, lads, liking the content, worth mentioning how Klopp beds in players. Gomez at right back helping develop that comfort on the ball even more example. Yeah, Chris, spot on. And I tell you, I'm going to you've segued me nicely because I'm going to leave Milner alone for this week. I think it was just a Milner performance. Most of it good, some of it a bit off, you know, but done his job, 7 out of 10, and you can't argue with that. But and Keita had one of those days where it just wasn't going right for him, and I think he was involved in a lot of these plays that it was just a pass before the pass, if you get me, before the chance to create it. And it probably goes down as the front three, not probably having that best game, but we get to that in a little while before we finish up. I'm going to touch on Fabinho, Grizz, right? And a lot of people have asked, when do you expect to see him in? Where do you expect to see him play? This is my take on Fabinho, and agree, disagree, Grizz, people watching, you can agree or disagree, right? This is my take on Fabinho. Fabinho, when Monaco were selling all these players, i.e. Mbappe, Mendy, you know, the list goes on. You can name 4 or 5 of them, right? They wanted to keep Fabinho because they felt he was integral to everything they'd done, regardless of all these players they had around him. But he played in a 2 in the midfield. He played with 2, as far as I was concerned. Any time I watched Monaco, which would probably be 7 to 8 times, I felt he played with 2 holding midfielders. I especially remember when they played City in the European Cup, and I think they knocked City out over 2 legs. Mm-hmm. And I always remember him playing the 2. Now, he comes in pre-season. He doesn't look fit to me, which is fair enough. He does look fit by the end of pre-season, but fit and Klopp fit are 2 completely different things. Plus, added into that, he's not going to play with someone beside him. They're not going to babysit him. They're going to say to him, see what he's doing there, i.e. Wijnaldum. We're going to put you in there, and you're going to have to do all that running, up, down, because Wijnaldum doesn't sit deep all the time. He's constantly in this 40-yard space where he's up and down, right? I think he's bedding this player in, a bit like I think it was Chris said a few minutes ago. I think he's bedding this player in, and the problem we have is that when he bedded in Joe Gomez, as Chris says, when we bedded in Trent, bringing him in and out all the time, and the one that comes to me, and will come to most Liverpool fans the most, is Andy Robertson. He bedded him in, he gave him a game against Palace, he was out for a while, he basically tells Robertson what he needs to do better. Robertson goes and learns this, comes back, and now is, in my opinion, he's the best left back in the league, in my opinion. And I include Mendy in that. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Rivals Mendy, yeah.
No, I think he's better than Mendy, because I think he's as good going forward, and I think he's better defensively. That's in my opinion on it. It's not rose-tinted glass or red-tinted glasses. I think he is, right? And he's shown more in the Premier League than Mendy has. Mendy's played 12 league games with Man City. So, you know. But the problem we have here is that Fabinho's a £45 million player, not an £8 million left-back from Hull. We need to relax, let Klopp do what he's doing, and when he comes in, he's ready. And when he comes in, we're firing on all cylinders. We could be 6 or 7 games in with 6 wins and a draw. We could be right up there. And he comes in and he plays a game where we're probably winning 2-0, and he comes on and plays 25 minutes and he's in it then. I think people need to just relax. I don't care how much he's cost. Let him bed in. Let him get used to the system. Let him get to the fitness that he needs to be at. And then we'll see what Fabinho is all about. But, having said that, if you think Fabinho's going to come in and not do what Henderson and Wijnaldum do, i.e. win the ball, get it, put it to the full-backs, put it to the centre-backs, maybe put it into midfield. If you don't think he's going to do that and he's going to be Alonso, you may need to have a look again at what you think Fabinho is. Grizz, the floor is all yours.
Gav, I don't want to make this a boring pod where I agree with everything you're saying. People hate sort of agreeing when we agree all the time, but you've nailed it. Gav, there's no panic from my side. I think it's an absolute brilliant position to have a 45 million asset who's quietly settling in, played every preseason game, done okay. And I said it before Klopp came out and said it in public, and I said it as soon as we signed him, and I said Fabinho will take time to settle. And I said it because of a couple of reasons. One of the main reasons is people forget that he's only played in midfield for a couple of seasons, Gav. Again, he's another one who's not been playing central midfield all his life. His career is based on him being an attacking right back. So he's learned the position in Monaco. And again, as you said, rightly so, he's learned it alongside, I think his partner was Bakayoko in the games that you're talking about. He always played in the 2. And when it wasn't, think the lad Moutinho played alongside him as well. Was he at Monaco? I may be wrong. Someone may correct me on that. But again, he was in a 2. Klopp wants him to watch and learn, and it's the old Liverpool way. I don't want to harp on about the old Liverpool way, but do you remember every signing that we made, sort of back in the days, would never walk into the team, and it was almost like you got to earn your place. There's nothing wrong with that. He's seeing what he's up against. He's being motivated. He's absolutely fine with it. And the example you gave of Robertson is spot on. But I think another brilliant example would be Ox. Do you remember what Ox was eased in? And do you remember sort of he played a couple of games and everyone went, whoa, what is this? Because Ox was lost. Do you remember his first couple of games?
Yeah.
And we used to laugh. We used to have our loads of conversations in the WhatsApp because sort of the opinions were split about if Ox was any use to us. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And lo and behold, he's become a valuable asset who I think has been a massive loss, because I think we're on a par with City if Ox is fully fit. Right? That's how crucial Ox is to Klopp, in my opinion. Same with Fabinho. I think he learned from the Ox introduction. I think he played Ox a bit too quick, a bit too soon, but the squad was set up was different then. Ox struggled, took him out of the team, learned the role, learned what he wants from him. Dribble less, run more, pass more, play in this hot area. Do you know what I mean? Loads of things. We know there's loads of work being done behind the scenes with Fabinho. Fabinho said himself. Fabinho's come out himself and said, I've been taught things that I never knew. I mean, we're talking about a 45 million, one of the top DMs in the world, saying, look, I've learned things I've learned in the last few weeks that I've never knew before. He's learning. It's a brilliant position to be in. There's absolutely no panic. He's a mainstay. He will be a mainstay for Liverpool for many years. I'm not writing him off at all. In fact, I think he's going to be one of the best signings this club's made. But there's no panic. There's absolutely no panic. Let him settle in. It's like the good old days. There's competition. And as I cheekily tweeted today, in terms of, do you remember if the Hendo fanboys and the Fabinho fanboys sort of waiting all season to sort of go mad at each other? Who's going to be the DM? This is finally Hendo's sort of, this is finally Hendo being kicked out of the team, or Fabinho ain't going to walk in, Hendo's captain. Well, hello, Gini's got that role at the moment, and he doesn't look like giving it up, and rightly so. So brilliant position to be in. Three players fighting for, in effect, one position.
Yeah. Right, listen, Grizz, I tell you, we're going to touch on the front three. Now, just to let everyone know, a couple of things before we touch on the front three. Jesus, that's getting harder and harder for me to say. Couple of things. You may have watched on Tuesday night, the new studio was launched. It didn't go quite as planned at 9:30. That was not. It was tested. Everything was fine. And then something went completely wrong at the start. We got there in the end. As I told you before, there's a lot of work gone into it. It looks brilliant. We've got serious feedback on it. It's going to get better and better. I'm going to be in the studio from next week onwards, I think, with the lads up on screen. So that's just my wife kicking me out of the house. She's had enough of all these wires running around the house. The second thing is, when we finish up this show, which will be in about 5 minutes' time, we're going to go back off. We'll be back in about 5 minutes' time, but we will be on YouTube only. YouTube only. Me and Grizz are going to have a little chat, probably about the next block of games, who we can see in the, making up the squad, making an impact, who probably needs, not a rest, but might need a few changes here and there. Me and Grizz are going to try to look at it tactically over the next 4 or 5 games and try to predict where we think we'll be after, what will that be, 8-9 league games. It'll be about 20 minutes long, and you're more than welcome to all go over to YouTube, LFC Day Trippers, subscribe, get on the chat box there, and we'll have a bit of laugh for 20 minutes or so. But Grizz, the last thing is the front three. Not the best of days. I think Kate is a little bit of off form in that game affects them. I think we're a bit slow in our movement, but again, it was just that pass before the killer pass. I think that was their issue. But then again, Milner wins the ball, Firmino takes it, he gives it to Salah, Salah sticks it in the net, and he wins the game for us. And as well as that, as Mane probably is his worst game of the season so far, but watch how many players they get behind the ball when he gets it, and watch how many players that they have to put into his area to try to stop him when he gets it, even when he's not playing well. I'm over the moon that we've gone with them front three, probably at an average of 6 out of 10. The team at an average of probably 7 out of 10. And we walked away with 3 points. And that's what you love seeing. And that's what you need to see if you want to, in my opinion, challenge for the title, which in my opinion, again, we will do.
Gav, it's again, it's a situation where there's nothing to worry about. It's par for the course. The 3 lads were away at the World Cup. They've had, and you know, some of them had limited game time in terms of coming back early from the World Cup, but they've been away. They haven't had a full pre-season behind them. They look about 30% behind schedule, but yet you look at Salah's and Mane's figures already, right? They've got the numbers on the board already. Bobby, we know, is a total different animal. Bobby is always a slow starter, but last couple of games, people were criticising him last game, but I thought that it was the sharpest he's looked. And again, he's like Ginny. You have to be at the game to see what Bobby brings to the team, and it's a huge amount. Salah and Mane, yes, we hold our hands up. Usually, they get plenty of praise their way, but if they're not performing, then we should also be critical of them. No one's above criticism, and yes, that was Mane's worst game. But again, Mane's the type of player that will pull something out of the bag. I don't think he had a brilliant game against Palace, but then suddenly a 60-yard lung-bursting run, getting away from the defence and just secures the game. That's what he's capable of. They'll click. As you said, I think Keita is key to them clicking as well, because he's the one that knits the game and he's the one who feeds them. So if Keita's not totally on his game like he wasn't, and again, he's a new player, he's settling in. Do you remember how many times last season we said, look, our defence looks solid, our front looks solid, our midfield look a bit weak? Well, at the moment, it's the forwards that are not looking weak, but just not clicking. It will come. That's one thing we know about our front three. It will come.
Could it be an argument, Grizz, that Keita looks to Mane an awful lot? We've heard this, that he's very, very close to him. They both speak the same language. He's very close to him around the training ground. He seems to have, struck up this relationship with him on the pitch as well. Could it be an argument that Brighton tried so hard to close down Mane because they've seen him as the main threat, that Keita's understanding with Firmino and Salah might just not be completely there and completely clicked, and that had an effect yesterday?
It's a fact. It isn't completely there. He's been there a month, 2 months. He's been bought for the next 3, 4, 5 years. Fingers crossed, hopefully. The understanding will come. Playing in sort of 6-a-side, 7-a-side games on the training ground is completely different to playing sort of against a blanket defence of the calibre of, a well-drilled coach team like Chris Hughton's teams are. He will face, and I think that was a good game for him to learn. Like, whoa, it's not going to be like West Ham, where sort of West Ham had Noble and Wilshere in midfield and bags of space, and Keita could do all his party tricks. I think Brighton was a good game for him to learn, and he will learn from it. It wasn't his best game, but he was there. And what I like about Keita, he doesn't shy away from the ball. He's always demanding it. There was a couple of times, you're right, the connection, the understanding is not quite sort of how it was with Phil. I don't want to go back to Phil Coutinho, but you've got to remember, Phil had played with them quite a bit. Again, with Bobby and Mane, he had a brilliant understanding with him. The understanding that he's forging with Robertson and Mane on that left side, it's almost like we're playing sort of 3 players on each side have got a brilliant understanding. You've got Salah, Trent and Milner forging a nice, real good understanding on the right side. And then you got the Keita, Robertson and Mane understanding. It will come. I think where we could have, where I slightly could criticise Klopp, if I may, would be, it might have been a good time sort of to maybe give Shaqiri a few minutes. A lot of people have asked about that as well.
Probo 1978 said he'd honestly rest Firmino next week, start Shaqiri and put Mane up top. Probo 1978, that's one of the things we're going to discuss in this Fatback 4 Extra in about 10 minutes time. So get on to YouTube, hit LFC Day Tripper, subscribe, and when we end this broadcast, we're going to be 5 minutes and we'll be back on, and we'll take all the questions, all the thoughts, and we'll more or less read your comments and try commenting them as we go. Grizz, I'll go back to the start. 3 from 3, walk in the park against West Ham. a good, hard-fought professional win against Palace, and an off day that results in 3 points that we've seen title winners do week in or season in, season out over the last how many years. Even the great United sides, Arsenal, the Chelsea sides, City, they've all come up with last-minute winners without playing badly, last-minute winners or 1-0 and they never put the game away, but they get them. And we've got them. And it's a good habit to get into. As I said, I'll go back to the start. We're happy, aren't we? We're happy, we're quietly confident, and we want to get to that international break where we're in the mix and we're laying down a marker.
Do you know what? I don't think it could be more perfect. 0 goals conceded. Okay. Front three not clicking yet. We've scored 7 goals in the 3 games. New signings bedding in without being under the spotlight, apart from Alisson, who's been thrust straight in, and Keita, who's sort of eased in slowly. But yet, the last performance has also shown the fan base, the media, the players don't need to know, the management doesn't need to know. What it shows is we've got a bit way to go. We're not the finished article, and that's perfect.
A couple of players have said that today.
Yeah, I mean, when we knew, as Klopp said in the press conference, we knew we're not as good as everyone's making out to be, which is good. But yet we're in this fantastic position where we haven't conceded. We haven't looked like conceding as well, and the attacks, yet to gel. So we're in a happy place. Make it 4-0. Look, it was blocks of games. We'll discuss it, as you said, on the YouTube. Yeah. The next block of games. But look, so far, absolutely perfect.
Good. Right, we're going to leave it there. Apologies that Ian had to drop off. I think his neighbour is... No apologies from Grizz. Grizz is going to hammer him when we get off this. But no, yeah. I think his neighbour is robbing his internet or something. I don't know what's going on. But look, it was me and Grizz holding the fort this week. Matt, people are asking about Matt. Matt is... how do I put this?
He's on tour.
Yeah, he's on tour.
Matt's on tour.
He's either on tour or he's on the fucking run, one or the other. Because he's in a different country every day. There's bottles of wine, there's beer, he's on a speedboat. You can see the new LFC Day Trippers, FB4, Grand Theft Auto style picture. That's a real photo of Matt. Right down the bottom.
He's actually a real photo, yeah. He's jet skiing around the world.
Yeah. He's a fucking madman. But
tasting the wines of the different world countries.
Yeah, he'll be back next week. Well, that's what he said. But we'll see what we can do. He's taking an extended break. I think he played the World Cup and he hasn't told us. And he's only getting back now. But no, he's got to fight for his
he's got to fight for his place, Gav.
He's going to have to fight for the short. It's been the fat back too, because Liverpool only play 2 at the back now. That's been us. YouTube, 5 minutes time. Go over there. LFC Day Trippers. Hit subscribe. When we start, it'll come up. Get all your comments in, and we read as many as we possibly can for 20-25 minutes. We go in blocks of games, players, formations, anything you want to discuss. The stadium. The fans, anything at all, hit us up and we'll go and do that in 20 minutes. That's been the Fatback 4, stroke 2. We'll do our best to get us all back on next week. Over now.